Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Time with Deb. My name's Deborah, and for today I'm going to be discussing the government scheme, the Help to Buy 20% deposit towards the new build home. So I'm pretty much going to be discussing the pros and cons and why the pros outweighs the cons in most circumstances, or depending on the situation at hand. Okay, let's go. Equity in legal term is all about fairness and justice. But in the case of a help to buy, simply means securing your house against the loan. So let's just start off by saying the help to buy, or the 20% that the government, puts towards your deposit, it's not free. It's not a gift. It's pretty much like any other loan. So the way this works is you put down a 5% deposit, the government puts down a 20% deposit, which then means there's a 75% loan that needs to be taken as a mortgage, which then completes the full circle of 100% for the purchase price of the home. So for a quick example, £200,000 is a nice figure. So we'll use that as our example for today. So let's assume you're buying a house for £200,000. The deposit, which is 5%, will be £10,000. So you put that towards the home, and then the government adds 20%, which is £40,000. So with that £40,000 plus your 10%, you have £50,000, and then you take a loan of 75, which then makes up for £150,000. So the first pro to this is the fact that it makes it easier for you to attain a mortgage, especially if you are earning sort of below what you would have needed naturally to attain, let's say, 90% mortgage. So the way this works is generally when you're getting a mortgage, you can get a mortgage based on your income. So 4.5 times based on your income. So let's assume you are earning £50,000 per annum as a salary. Your mortgage would then be 4.5 times of that. Does that make sense? So let's say 4 times of 50,000 is 200, and the 0.5 would be 25,000. So basically, if you're on a salary of £50,000, you'd be able to get a mortgage of £225,000. So that's how it works. Does that make sense? So yeah, you put down 5%, the government puts down 20, you have 25, and then you take a mortgage of 75,000. So it just makes it easier for you to attain a mortgage. Imagine trying to meet up or match up to that 4.5 times of your earnings. A lot of people won't be able to get a mortgage just because, I think the average salary is about 35 or 36, near about £1,000 per annum. So a lot of the times, most individuals can't afford to buy a house on their own. That's why, in most cases, most homeowners tend to do it as a couple, unless you're some sort of CEO or you have a high paying job, or you're self-employed where your business is earning, turning over thousands and millions a year. So that is the help to buy in the shortest form. With the help to buy, like I said, it's pretty much like any other loan. One of the exceptions is that it is interest free for up to 5 years. Up to 5 years, which means it's almost like, when you get a finance, let's say you want to buy a new sofa. So you take out a finance option, and then you have an interest fee for a certain period of time. It's sort of similar, when it comes to the help to buy. So it's interest fee for 5 years, which is quite a reasonable time, to be fair. But the trick is, after that 5 years, it then goes up. You start paying interest. So from the 6th year, the interest goes up by 1.75%. And then every year after that, there's an additional 1%. So that this is sort of the retail price percentage added on to it. So yeah, you have 1.75, then after that, an additional 1% every year moving forward. But the first 5 years gives you sort of a break, a resting period. And mind you, because this is an interest rate, it does not go towards your actual repayment of the help to buy, which is all, once again, it's not much different from most other loans. You have even with your mortgage, you have the repayment, and then you have an interest that you're paying on top of your repayment. So the interest part of it does not actually go towards the repayment of the help to buy. So bear that in mind. So with the help to buy, what can you buy? You can buy properties worth up to £600,000, which is a You know, there's millions and thousands. There's hundreds of properties that you can buy that are well within £600,000, honestly. So yeah, that's a very good cap. You know, it could go up in the next few years, so who knows. But at the moment, it's currently at £600,000 cap. And the maximum you can get outside of London is a 20% contribution towards the value of your home. And in London, you can get up to 40% because London is expensive. It's an extortion. You know, let's say average 3-bedroom house on the outskirts of London, let's say Kent or Essex, you know, those sort of areas like that, or even like the Milton Keynes area. Let's say you buy an average new build house for about, you know, £300,000. In London, for a new build, that's going to be at least £600,000. So it's almost double the price. But yeah, of course, depending on where in London as well, because there's different parts of London. You know, London's not just one big place where, you know, everything's valued the same. You know, what a house in West London is not going to be the same as a house in South East, and etc. So yeah, initially the Help to Buy scheme was meant to end in 2021, but as far as I'm concerned, it's now been extended to 2023. So we have 3 more years, guys. To be honest, I think even after that, they might possibly increase it again. Listen, there's been so many extensions that's been given to this Help to Buy. And secretly, it's because it's benefiting the government and the developers. Like, if you are a developer, for example, the Help to Buy is a dream. You know, you have more and more people, you know, buying your properties. So even the people that initially, maybe in the past, would not have been able to afford to buy one, well, thanks to the Help to Buy scheme, your properties are being sold out before it's even completed. So yeah, Help to Buy there's pros and cons for both parties, the developers and the home buyers, but it definitely favors the developers themselves. And when it comes to Help to Buy, you can only take a repayment option mortgage as opposed to an interest-only mortgage, which is a good thing. I don't know why you'd want to take an interest-only mortgage in the first place, but some people do. But, you know, yeah, it for me, it excludes the worst option anyway. So yeah, you can only take a repayment option only, because the main difference is that a repayment, you're paying back the loan, whereas interest only, you're simply paying the interest on the loan, which is pointless. So yeah, please don't do that. Try to avoid that as much as you can. Another thing that most people don't discuss is that on the Help to Buy, there is a management fee that you pay for the duration of your Help to Buy. This comes at a price of £1 a month. Okay, you won't miss it. Yeah, £1 a month. Not a lot of people talk about it, but yeah, there's a management fee there. One of the most asked questions when it comes to the Help to Buy is whether or not you can rent out the property. So the answer is no. However, there's a way to go about it. So, all right, from a legal standpoint, there's a difference between a lodger and a tenant. So typically, a lodger is someone who lives in the property with you, so you are considered a living landlord. And a tenant, of course, is someone who has rented the property from you and you are a live-out landlord. So under the Help to Buy rules, you can't rent out the property because, you know, it's not for you. The whole purpose of the Help to Buy is for you to get on the ladder to help first-time buyers. It's not, you know, a way for you to start making property and become a property mogul. You know, that's not the purpose. So if it was open for people to sort of use the property to rent, then it defeats its existence in the first place, and it's just helping people build businesses as opposed to building their home. So yeah, you can't rent it out. However, I would suggest trying out the lodging option, because technically you're not breaking any rules. So it just depends on your circumstances. Let's say you are a single individual or even a couple and you've just purchased a 3-bedroom house, no kids, no pets, no relatives or whatever. And, you know, the other 2 rooms are just sitting there gathering dust. Even if you end up using the second room as a walk-in closet or whatever you do with it, that third room, which tends to be a box room, but that third room that you have sitting there, why not rent it out and let it, not rent, give it out to a lodger, someone that, lives in with you and is paying you a couple £100 every month, which might even cover your mortgage or at least your council tax, your water bill, your gas, electricity. Let that home make you money. Let it not just be, something that you just, obviously it's a big deal and it's let it make you some money while it can, So yeah, I would suggest maximizing that option. Sometimes it can be tricky, trying to distinguish what the difference is between a lodger and a tenant. But the overall rule is that as long as you are living in a property, but you're not sharing a living space, then that person is still considered a tenant. So if you are not sharing a living space, then that person is a tenant. So a living space includes a living room and things of that nature, but it excludes a hallway because it's a hallway, it's not a living space. So if you are not sharing a living space, then the person is a tenant. However, if you are sharing some sort of living space, then that person is considered a lodger, which is not against the sort of Help to Buy, scheme. So consider that. So overall, with the pros and cons, I feel like for the generation at hand, Help to Buy at the moment seems like one of the easiest options to sort of get on the property ladder and just buy your home. Just because the prices of property are just going up and up and up. Even in those sort of counties that I mentioned earlier, Kent and Essex, properties aren't what it used to be. It's not, a 3-bedroom house for £150,000 anymore. It's gone up. So it's becoming harder and harder for people in their 20s and even some in their early 30s to become a homeowner. Just because, imagine, like I said, let's use an average price of £300,000 for a 3-bedroom house. Like, a lot of people are not earning enough to qualify for a mortgage that meets 4.5 times of their earnings. So let's imagine a young individual that's earning £25,000, right? So if we are to calculate, they don't want to use the Help to Buy, they just want to purchase a home. And, the bank would only give them 4.5 times worth of their salary of £25,000. If we calculate that, that means they can only take out a mortgage of roughly £112,000. So let's even say they have it's not a lot of money. Because where are you going to live? Nowhere near London, definitely not. I guess, in some places in the country, like let's say in the Midlands, you might still be able to buy a decent house. Definitely not new builds, because naturally new builds are usually worth about 20% more. So it also depends if you are, that's one of the cons to Help to Buy. The fact that you can only use it on new builds. That is why contractors and developers are the ones, really profiting and benefiting from this. That's why we see loads of new builds everywhere. Apartments, houses, bungalows, there's just loads of new builds. A place, you see the fields and the next few months it's turned into houses and flats because they really benefit from this scheme. It's such a shame, but that is one of the reasons I don't think they would ever extend it to old homes, because I think the masses would prefer to be able to use a scheme like the Help to Buy on an old build, just because an old build is naturally cheaper. And also, in most cases, they tend to be bigger. You get more space and more for your money. Whereas a new build, it's more sort of boxed and it's certainly more expensive. With that said, salary aside, it's targeted at a lot of young people who are not earning enough. Because, if instead of having a 90% mortgage and then contributing 10%, which for most people is also even difficult. So imagine you don't want to use the Help to Buy, but because you do qualify, your salary, you're earning a lot, you're earning enough, and you can buy a property worth £300,000. But then with that, in most cases, you need at least 10% deposit, which is then £30,000. A lot of people don't have that, whereas In the case of using a Help to Buy, you wouldn't need a 10%, you'd only need a 5%, which would then be just £15,000. So it just depends on what your situation is. I would say if you have more in savings, try to buy an old build, or even if it's a new build, but try to avoid using the Help to Buy where necessary. But if you are, let's say you have a plan in the next year or two to buy a property and you don't think you can quite save enough, but you really want to get on the ladder, then go for it. Use the Help to Buy. It's a loan, just like you getting a mortgage. It's almost like, think of it as just separating your loans, separating your mortgage. You have one with a bank, let's say Halifax, Santander, Barclays, whoever you have your mortgage with. And then you have 75% with them, and then you have 20% with the government. Either way, you still have a loan, whether whether all your loan is in one basket or you've got it in two different baskets. So yeah, it's not as negative as people, some people might make it seem. It just depends on each individual's circumstances. And you just have to you have to sort of identify that yourself. But you just have to also make sure that you have all the information, not just be fooled by, oh yeah, this is, I would also say, because you have that 5 years gap or 5 years worth of freedom, interest free with the Help to Buy, try and save as much as you can within that 5 years, and maybe just pay off the Help to Buy within that 5 years, as opposed to waiting for the 5 years interest free to run out and then you start paying interest on it. Why not just save up? So what you couldn't have saved up before you bought the house, whilst you bought the house, continue to save and just plan. So let's say you bought a house of, going back to £200,000 figure, you put down £10,000. You took you were given a 20% Help to Buy of £40,000, and then you took out a loan of £150,000. So your Help to Buy itself is £40,000. You have a 5 years interest-free rate, right? So 5 years, you're not doing anything. You're just focusing on your mortgage, which is only set at 75%. So it's not a 90% mortgage, 75%. So it's going to be relatively lower than a 90% mortgage. So you're paying that. And a mortgage, let's say about 25 years, a mortgage repayment on a house that's £150,000, just based on a rough estimate at the top of my head, probably will be about £500 every month, if I'm not mistaken. Well, depending on your circumstances and your interest rate and blah, blah, blah. So let's say about £500 every month you're paying. And you are earning, a decent amount of money. And you're able to save, an additional £500 every month or another £1,000 every month. In 5 years, you could save enough to just go to the government and be like, thank you very much. Here's your £40,000. That's it. So you don't have to worry about the 6th year, the 7th year, you are done with that. And you can just solely focus on your mortgage with the bank or whoever you've, attained your mortgage from. I think that, if you are someone who's capable of doing that, I think definitely go for it. The Help to Buy can help you if used correctly. So don't try not to relax and just be like, okay, when the 5 years come, I'll deal with it. No, because bear in mind, the £40,000 that they gave you is not necessarily what you're going to end up paying back. So another thing, you end up paying back whatever the value of the house is worth, or whatever the value of the property is worth at that moment. That's another trick. So yeah, that's why you shouldn't let it catch up to you. So try to pay it off as quick as you can, because that £40,000 could turn into £80,000 that you now owe the government, because maybe the price of your house has doubled. The house you bought for £200,000 in 5 years, okay, it might not be worth £400,000, but it might then be worth £250,000. So instead of owing the bank 20%, you now technically owe them a little bit more. So instead of owing them that £40,000, you now owe them £50,000. So do you see where I'm going with this? So also another thing that a lot of people don't necessarily talk about is selling. You can completely sell your home, which is fine, but just bear in mind that in selling your home, the price you sell your home will determine how much you pay the government back. So If your property has gone up, once again, instead of selling it for 200,000, the value you bought it for, you sold it for a little bit more, you are also going to give the government back a little bit more. Because remember, it's an equity loan, which means they own an interest in your property, okay? So if that interest has gone up, what you give back to them goes up, okay? So if you sell your house for 250, don't think you're just going to give them the 40,000 and you're going to go. If you end up selling your house at 250, you'll then give them, the 20% value of 250 at that time. Or if you sell it for 300, you then give them the value of 20% of £300,000 at the time of sale. So, it's a business. It's not just a free loan. It's like any other business. You can't expect, to take a loan and pay back exactly the amount you took. So if you take a £10,000 loan, for example, at the bank, maybe to do a house refurbishment or to go on a holiday or to get married, don't think you're going to pay the bank back £10,000. There's always going to be interest. That's how they make money. Otherwise, what are we doing here? It's business. Before I go, another thing that I forgot to mention is that, what did I forget to mention? I've forgotten again. So yeah, with the Help to Buy, you can only own one property at a time. Because once again, it's not for the purpose of you becoming a property mogul and becoming one of these people and, featured in the homes under their hammer. No, it's for you to purchase your home, your very own home. Okay? So therefore you can't then, be owing the government 20% equity on your home and whilst you go out there and buy another property or 2 or 3. It doesn't work like that. Before you can venture into buying more properties, you would have to pay off that equity loan that you owe the government. So that's another, it can be a trap, but it just depends on what plan you have for yourself. Do you just plan on buying a home for yourself and your family? Or do you want to buy properties for, from the perspective of being a property mogul? So it just depends on your reason behind it. So you can't go on to own other properties whilst you are owing the government. Let's say you have 2 years fixed rate and then after that you want to remortgage and maybe you have a better job and you're earning you're earning a higher sum of income. You can then remortgage and perhaps the value of your house has gone up as well. So you can then explore options such as remortgaging and then taking more money from the bank and then using that to pay off your Help to Buy. So that way, you no longer have any association with the Help to Buy scheme. No, you don't owe the government any money. You can now just focus on your mortgage with the bank. Of course, that means your mortgage will increase because you now owe more to the bank, but at least now all your eggs are in one basket, I suppose. And then that way, you're open and free to explore other options and owning other properties and renting it out if you want, because the government no longer owns have an equity in your home. I don't think I can think of anything else at the moment, but if I can, or if you guys have any further questions, please leave a comment and I might do a part 2 if need be, or I can just answer you, through the comments. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are, and please, please, please don't forget to like, subscribe and comment and share. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Bye.